In the bottom left corner, the blue Protoss, Nitvek. And in the top left corner, the red Zerg, Dwonker. And this is a show match here in the BSL. It's not part of our first tournament. But we have two North American Diamond players here. And we're going to see what the NA ladder looks like. These two players, both about Diamond 1 in the rankings. So we're going to see, hopefully, a little bit higher quality play than what we've seen before on the BSL. No disrespect to any of our ferocious competitors. See Dwonker here. Going for the 17 hatch. No block from the Protoss. He's going to get this off cleanly. Here we have a standard gateway and gas open. Likely a Nexus coming behind this, but who knows. Maybe Nitvek has something wild up his sleeve. Don't know too much about Nitvek. I know that Dwonker, you know, he's kind of been a mentor to some of the other players here in the BSL. He's the brother of Shaky. Friendly terms with some of the other players as well. And he's taking the gas. Pretty standard, nothing too crazy going on here. Overlords are moving out on the map. Kind of aggressive Overlord positioning. Usually you'll see very high level players make a little ring around them and then send one Overlord to scout. But the ring around the base is crucial for vision, and Dwonker's not doing that. He's sending both Overlords across the map. Not sure if that's intentional or not. And the Protoss here, Nitvek. Pretty standard opening. He's ahead of Dwonker in probes. Wonder what his strategy is going to be going into this game. Don't know too much about him. We'll see soon. At the first inflection point, what kind of style of Protoss he's looking to play today. Queen starting up for Dwonker. Both players doing a pretty solid job just spending their minerals and larvae. Dwonker's pooling some resources a little bit late with that hatch, to be honest. It could have been down 10 seconds earlier. Over here we have a Stargate opening for Nitvek. And Dwonker is sending the Overlord in to get a look-ski. So let's see what Dwonker's response is going to be to this once he finds out. Just has a queen on the way. The Oracle has started for Nitvek. So I wonder if this is going to be a sustained air toss play or just kind of like an Oracle harass that then goes into a more conventional army. And we look at the follow-up here. It's a gateway and a robo, so maybe the latter option of the two. But we'll see. Meanwhile, Dwonker responding. He's plopped two spores down on the map. He's droning pretty hard. 6 drones still coming out. And his queen count is a little low. He didn't go double queen. He got a quicker lair. But he's got 3 queens. But are they in position? Let's see what's going on here. Oh, the Overlord's getting a scout off, getting taken out. Seeing the follow-up of the gateway is actually pretty big. This will clarify for Dwonker that it's not, you know, some kind of double starport play. He saw the first starport, but now he's seeing that it's actually a gateway army behind it. And the Oracle gets 1 drone. 2 drones. And it's warded off here. Bit of a late pull from Dwonker. But he did have a queen and a spore there, so, you know, 2 workers for an Oracle. It's, you know, respectable losses. Oh, we see here maybe a 3rd worker. And that gets sniped down. Should have been a spore. Dwonker here, quick with the drone pull. That's pretty nice. Nice mineral walk from Dwonker. And the creep is starting to get pushed out onto the map. A little bit slowly, to be honest. This queen is bottling up energy. And Dwonker needs to spend that energy. Let's look at the Protoss side here. 2 Stalkers plugging the wall. Immortal coming down, +1 attack on the way. We see here Dwonker is going for the Roach Warren. So will it be some kind of Roach Ravager play from him? That's kind of been his MO in the NA ladder. He's a hard Roach Ravager. Just get to 200 supply and just try to bust the opponent down at around the 8-minute mark. And he's had some success with it. Maybe I'll try that in this game. The 2 Lings do scout the 3rd base. So now Dwonker knows it's not a 2-base timing. So will he drone more liberally now? Let's check the production tab. We have Roach Speed on the way. Evo Chamber. And there is the droning. 12 drones in response to that information. So nice job by Dwonker there. Identifying that his opponent is in fact taking that 3rd base. It's not a 2-base all-in. And he drones very heavy once he finds out. And he's got a Roach army. To be honest, it's not that impressive. But he's going here. Look at this. A Spire and an Infestation Pit. Very interesting. And he's a little bit slow droning up this mineral line, to be honest. I think maybe he was thinking about going mass roaches and trying to bully his opponent. But he decided to put the Infestation Pit down. Or maybe he massed those roaches thinking possibly a 2-base all-in was coming from the Protoss, because the 3rd base was a little bit late. But in any event, Dwonker should be doing a better job at grabbing his 4th here. It's a little bit late. There's the drone going out now. And the mineral line in the 3rd base is still not saturated. That will hurt him if he doesn't watch out. He is producing 8 drones, however. But if we look at the unit tab, 66 drones to 66 probes. The Zerg should have been able to pull ahead by now. Because not much action has actually happened in this game. But Dwonker, I mean, he's not in a rush to fill up his supply. Normally, he's going for that maxed out Roach attack. That's what we've seen from him, or I've seen from him in the past. But going for the quick Infestation Pit, so we'll see what he does with that. 77 workers now for Dwonker. He's finally getting up to a respectable worker count. Starting to saturate that 4th base. The 4th base isn't even up, and he's just long distance mining with the surplus workers. Protoss here taking their own 4th base. Nitvek. So he's done a great job macroing, actually. He's only down 2 workers. And he actually has a better army out on the map compared to Dwonker. Dwonker is just pure Roach, and to be honest, at this point against the Protoss, I mean, there are many Protoss that would have just F2'd across the map by this timing with a few Immortals. And that could have been GG. Excuse me. That could have been GG for Dwonker. But instead, Nitvek is happy to macro himself. And he's actually pulling ahead in the worker count here. So a very passive game from both players. We know this is a big map, so it encourages this type of play. I'm a little surprised neither player has tried to open up these minerals to open up this path here. These would be safe expansions. Not to mention that there's some gold minerals in this follow-up expansion as well. But both players electing to take the more forward expansions, you can say. And the rocks being destroyed here by Nitvek. He's got a Warp Prism, but he hasn't really put much pressure on the Zerg with that Warp Prism yet. He's just kind of hanging out with the army. The Oracle sniped a couple drones, which was nice. And look at this. Actually, I missed this. Dwonker has pumped out a bunch of Corruptors. And we have Nitvek. He's pushing across the map, and Dwonker does not have a force here. And look at this warp in here. Huge. The Corruptors are flying back. All of a sudden, this is heated up. And Dwonker does have some spines in the front. He's going to need them because he's in a world of hurt right now, it looks like. He has a bunch of Corruptors which are useless against this army, except for the Colossus. And, okay, the Corruptors jump on that Warp Prism, kill it. Not a bad trade-off. He didn't actually lose a Corruptor. They're just a bit bruised. And he's morphing the wounded Corruptors into Broodlords. Okay. But will the Broodlords be ready in time? Nitvek here, he's being a little cautious. He didn't want to engage in those spines, but in my opinion, with 3 Immortals back there, they could have made very quick work out of those spines, and this Roach army is not very impressive from Dwonker, so he's kind of getting away with murder here. But Nitvek has done a great job also out-macroing Dwonker behind this with 94 probes, so is it even necessary to push out with this army now? He's walking into 4 spines, a bit of a wiggle there, he's reconsidering. Army units in the back, the Corruptors sniped the Colossus, and the Broodlords now are starting to get shots off, and I think Nitvek has finally just found out it's actually Broodlords behind this. And the Colossus gets wrecked, the Stalkers and Immortals are losing to the Roach Spines and Broodlords, and this was a terrible trade for Nitvek. So to be honest, he might have waited a little bit too long or took his time backing away from those spines when it was just a few roaches. And now there's a huge Broodlord army pushing across the map with that Roach army that hasn't even been killed yet. And there's still some Corruptors for good measure, sniping down the Oracle. And the Broodlords are pushing in, they're starting to get value against these Stalkers. Not sure why those Corruptors ran away from that Warp Prison. Maybe a bit of F2ing going down for Dwonker there. He needs to make sure he control groups his units. And he does have some units control group, in fact, but he's got to use them. And look at this, from the behind, Nitvek comes here, and what a nice little slick move. Blinks underneath the Broodlord, snipes 1, snipes 2, snipes 3 Broodlords. But there's still 5 Broodlords left, and these Lings are going to town on the Stalkers. The Roaches still alive as well. Dwonker putting pressure on with the Broodlords now. That's a lot of Zealots, though from Nitvek. But, I mean, against Roach Broodlord with a bunch of Lings, that's not going to work. The Lings here really want that kill on that Immortal. Some of the Roaches coming through. Oh, Nitvek micros the Immortal back very nicely. Corruptors are taking extra damage. They're just kind of flying around taking damage. No Overseer from Dwonker, but he's getting damage done on this base. And Dwonker has some reinforcements streamlining into these Photons over here. That's not very efficient. He needs to split them off to the left. This is not a trade he wants to take with a few Roaches, but more importantly, this fight is going down here. And these Immortals are getting value against the Roaches, but they can't go too far in or they're going to start taking Broodling hits. And this Nexus is going to fall. Nitvek, though, is still up in workers. He can afford to lose this base if he can hang on to the other base. But, I mean, it's hard to beat Broodlords with this positioning. The Roaches are there to protect. And Dwonker's moving north now. We have Tempest on the map. It's so hard to keep up with the tech changes of these players when there's total non-stop action. And those Stalkers are going forward. The Stalkers and the Tempest will finish off the Broodlords. Bile goes down, weakens an Immortal. And this Roach triplet there just focus fired that Immortal with that Ravager shot as well. So that was some nice micro from Dwonker. And he's just turning back away now, knowing he's got no answer for the Tempest on the field. His leftover Corruptors have been finished off. He's rallying back. He's grabbing the 5th base back here. And finally, he's pulled ahead in the worker count against Nitvek after killing a substantial amount of workers. But Nitvek still has a good economy. And look at this. Double expanding here. Very strong play. Triple expanding even. So he's done a good job kind of outpacing Dwonker with the macro and the base taking. But Dwonker's been very efficient as a Zerg in this game. That's kept him in it. And look at this. Dwonker going down. Snipes a Tempest. And meanwhile, these troops are fighting into spines. So that efficiency continues. Yes, the Immortal can do work. But the Immortal's going to get taken out. And look at this. A transfuse on the wounded Corruptors. And they go back out to finish off another Tempest, hopefully. In Dwonker's case. And look at that. The Tempest goes down. Look at the units lost tab here. Dwonker has been more efficient than his opponent. He's a Zerg player. You don't see that every day. Usually the Zerg is the least efficient and mines the most. And now Dwonker just kind of going in, but without any Broodlord support, this Roach Ravager is no match for that Stalker Immortal army there. So maybe a little bit of an overextension on the ground. But he needed to keep the ground army busy in order to get the shots off against those Tempests. Otherwise, the Stalkers would have been going down on the Corruptors. So maybe it was worth it. So a lot of action has gone down. Dwonker is up in supply. He has a bigger army on paper compared to his opponent now. And Nitvek, although he's had a great economy all game, he's lost a lot of units. And his army is not looking too hot right now. He's going into High Templar for Storm, which is a good decision against this many lanes and this kind of Roach Ravager army. But we have now Dwonker throwing in Ultralisks. So maybe he's anticipating that High Templar switch and decide to get Ultras in the late game. I'm not sure. But just a couple of Ultras on the field for him. So a lot of tech switches this game from both players. And let's see how the Ultras do for Dwonker. The Zealots are coming in. That's a lot of Speedlings. Those are a lot of Speedlings. The Corruptors fly forward with no targets. Storm on the Speedlings. Storm again is trying to target the Corruptors, but they fly away. And the Roach Ravager is destroying this base, and the High Templar Stalker is no match for these Ultralisks and Speedlings. Let's look at the upgrades. 3 attack for the Protoss, 5 Carapace. So that's 3 Carapace for normal units for the Zerg player, and 2 for the Ultralisk upgrade. This base is close to going down. Look at this. Dwonker's just jumping all over this army now with the Speedlings around. Units from the north as well. Wiles hit his own units, but it doesn't matter. Nitvek has just been wrecked. Look at that. What a matchup. It's not every day you see a Zerg more cost efficient than their opponent. But Nitvek, he did a lot of good work droning up in this game, or probing up rather, and taking expansions. But Dwonker was just a beast on the battlefield. Let's take a look at the units lost tab, and we have 21.5k for the Zerg player and 26.8k for the Protoss player, and that was the difference maker. The gases weren't even taken on this 5th base for Dwonker. And that was a very entertaining game with a lot of tech switches. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. My voice is shot now. It's been a long day. So have a good one.